I'm Steve Geeter, your host with the most weed from coast to coast. And I'm out at the coast today. And my lovely guest today is Cate Be of Cate Be Ceramics and many other things that we'll get to find out about in this next hour or so. Welcome, Cate. How are you today?
Thank you, Stephen. I'm well. I'm healthy. I'm breathing. It's sunny
Definitely.
out,
It is.
we're connecting. Um, yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thanks for joining today. It was it was quite an adventure connecting, and I apologize publicly here for screwing our first meeting up. And today we're a few minutes late as well, but I appreciate you hanging with me. We are going out into the cannabis, and sometimes it's there's no roadmap,
Yes.
but I appreciate you hanging with me, and it's been great to get you to know you through the couple of weeks where we were attempting to get to know each other. So
Yes.
we
I
did get
hope
to
it
know
was
each
good
other a little bit.
impressions.
I hope so too.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been great, and I love seeing what you're doing in our community, and that's why I wanted you to be a guest on the shows because I didn't know you myself really, and I've seen you doing some work before, so I was familiar with some of your work definitely. And Jackie connected us and said Cate should be in the mix. Cate's amazing. Cate should be a judge, and all these different things. So I
Well,
thought, well,
damn.
I guess
Thanks,
I'm missing out.
Jackie.
Yeah, I didn't want to keep missing out, so.
Yeah.
Oh man, Cate, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously ceramics are a part of your life right now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Cate B Ceramics, maybe to start off.
Okay. Well, I never thought that I would be doing ceramics full time. My background is in ecological restoration. I have a bachelor's in ecological restoration.
Oh,
I
great.
have a minor in botany, and I have a second minor in watershed management.
Oh, all right.
I have an associate's in music performance because I was a musician for over a decade. I have an associate's in mathematics, and I have an associate's in natural science.
Right on.
So
A lot of cool stuff.
ceramics wasn't on my radar. It was actually I was gifted a 10-week course after I graduated from Humboldt State, or formerly Humboldt State. And it was like, okay, now that I've gotten my degree, let me take something for fun. I had applied to go to the Peace Corps and was accepted to go to Cambodia, which is where my father is from. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do, a great mission, learn my father's native tongue, because I've always
Mm-hmm.
asked him to teach me, but he never had time. And it's just traumatic because he was a refugee during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Um, and so 3 months before my departure, Peace Corps told me, we have too many overqualified applicants and you can't go anymore. Basically, we have no room. And I thought, what? Like I went through medical clearance, I chose my country. Um, and so they asked me, did I want to go somewhere else? And my mother's from El Salvador. And so I asked them about that, but they said, unfortunately, we don't have any environmental programs out there for you.
Huh.
So because I was in the ceramic class, just to hold me over till I leave, I just kind of like dove into clay. I was depressed because the plans that I had made post graduation were falling through. And so
Uh-huh.
it kind of became like a therapy for me, something tactile, something you literally have to focus on centering. And so it kind of helps you ground and center yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, well, a couple years later, because I wasn't really taking it full time, it was just for fun. I got into therapy. I left a 12-year relationship, and a lot of therapy is, your frame of mind. And so I started looking at the clay, thinking, well, if I carve out affirmations and things that I really need to hear for me, not only am I thinking them, but I'm putting it into the third, plane, and it's physical, it's tangible. And if I carve it over and over, making several pieces, it'll help be more efficient in the rewiring of my brain, you know?
Yeah.
So I had like a little mantra mug line, and then other people who found me on Instagram were like, "Oh my God, I love what you're doing." I was really transparent with what I was going through in my life, and this was like
Mm-hmm.
2016, and like it just kind of blew up. So I hit 10,000 followers on Instagram in 2016, And I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know that people could use Instagram as like for business, like because it
Right.
wasn't really a full time thing. I
Right.
had my own small business doing native gardening and landscaping for locals around here. And 2017, I was like, well, this Instagram thing, I think it gave me the confidence to go full time. So I left the natural science kind of environmental world and I went full time with ceramics. And the same year I left that, relationship. So it's a total pivotal moment in my life. And I've been doing it full time ever since. So
That
it
is
just kind of
awesome.
happened organically. And I
That's
guess I
a
would
cool
thank
story.
Instagram. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. I th- I I'm more of a visual learner. I've always been that way. I don't read a lot of words. I just don't. It's just
Yeah.
I'm slow at it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's always been a challenge for me, and I never really adopted the skills to read fast and enjoy it. It's I have to read really slow to enjoy it,
Yeah.
and reading slow is not enjoyable for me. So I don't read very often, but I love your work and the energy that you're putting into it with these affirmations and these sayings and different mantras and stuff. Even in your work now, or things that I see you posting, um, it's just a really cool way. I learned to rewire some of my programming through some therapy, and one of the modalities or the techniques was these guys are gonna go catch some big ones. All right, good luck. They got their fishing poles, and
Cool.
one of the things I learned was from a woman in Arcata. Her name was Mary Jo Stepp. She was a therapist, and I went there, and she taught, and I learned with her some EMDR,
I took that for 5 years.
right?
Yeah, but
EMDR.
you did she have like a biorhythmic tool that she'd put under your legs? You have to hold it.
Oh, she did like the old school,
Okay, okay.
like this, and it was really helpful for me. But when you're explaining some of your discovery of ceramics and like your affirmations and stuff, to me that was kind of like, and reprogramming and rewiring and stuff, it's like that just spoke to me in the same way that EMDR does. It's like you're kind of reprogramming yourself, and can you know repetition can really lock things in. So I completely understand. I was just having a flashback myself of EMDR. It's a great technique, and it helped
Yeah, the
me reprogram and for a lot of things.
the therapist that I was seeing at that time, she was a specialist in EMDR. So
Yeah.
that's when I started doing that. And now I see somebody else and I integrate a therapy called neurofeedback.
Uh-huh.
And so it's also a rewiring process, but physically. Whereas EMDR, you tap into traumatic memories.
Yep.
With neurofeedback, it literally scans your brain and it will find where your neurotransmitters are weak or broken and help repair it.
That also sounds like my other favorite modality that I've ever encountered, which I'd like to learn more about that, but is cranial sacral work,
Oh, okay.
where and oddly enough, my cranial sacral therapist, Catherine, I was just on my WhatsApp or whatever, and I saw this chain of she lives in Costa Rica most of the time, but she'll come back to Arcata
Mm-hmm.
periodically. So I saw she was putting a thing out. Hey, I'll be back in town. So anyway, cranial sacral is another great therapy. That sounds, it's kind of someone's putting their hands, and just it's a very energetic work. But I've had some of the most profound experiences with that therapy without any words or very few words at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Navigating secret pathways of my psyche, right? And
Yeah,
anyways, yeah,
neurofeedback, you don't need
therapy's
any
amazing.
talking. You could just sit
No
there.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they kind of watch on the scanner how your brain is reacting to the things that you're looking at because they'll have you look at lights or something
Okay.
or a movie,
Okay.
as long as you're calm because they'll record your brain when it's calm, at least for me, and then feed that information back to your brain because if you've gone through a lot of trauma, sometimes you don't know what the state of calm feels like, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. I think I learned a bunch of it in EMDR.
Yeah.
had a whole list of these emotions. I had this. She's asking me to explain these emotions, and
Well,
I
that's
was
so
like,
cool.
"Wow,
I'm
a
happy
few
to
of these
hear
I
that.
don't even understand. A bunch of these words I had to relearn and feel some words that actually might have just been kind of skipping over those emotions most of my life.
Yeah.
With other ones, they kind of overlap on top of each other a lot of times.
That's cool that you've gone through that. I don't know a lot of people that have done EMDR, so that's cool.
Me neither. Yeah, it's profound too. I would say, wherever you are, Mary Jo Step, thank you again for
Yeah.
bringing that on to me because it changed my life for the better.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
great, cool. Well, Kate, I've been curious too since we've been chatting and stuff, and since I've been watching what you're doing, other pieces of your journey, like how you got to Arcata and where you kind of traveled there from, and I always like to learn just personally. I like to learn about where people are from. It usually tells me more than what they can tell me about where they're going. You
Yeah.
know, tell me more about where you started your life journeys, if you will. If we could go all the way
Okay.
back and start moving forward.
Well, I was born in Gardena or Torrance, California, so like LA County.
Yeah,
And then we moved to Moreno Valley, which is in Riverside County.
Riverside.
Yeah, so I lived there until I was 19. So I was 8 when we moved there. So I was there pretty much uh, 2 years of elementary, all of middle school, all of high school, 2 years of junior college. And then I moved to Houston, Texas. And I was in Houston, Texas for 5 years. And then I moved back to Moreno Valley to finish school. And then I transferred up to Humboldt State. There's like a lot of details in there in between that I didn't put in
For
there, but
sure,
that's
for
pretty
sure.
much like location wise where I've lived and where I've been. SoCal, Houston, Texas, back to SoCal, and then I've been here for 13 years.
Right on. So you were born in SoCal, is that
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And your parents were from Cambodia and El Salvador,
Yes.
if
So
my
they
memory
met
serves
in
me
Los
correctly.
Angeles. Yeah.
They met in Los Angeles.
Yeah. He came in the 70s, and she was kidnapped. She was literally like taken from her mother, from her father, um, who never married her mother. He actually like was in El Salvador, moved to the United States, and then came back to visit. And then when my grandma was out, took my mother and went to the United States. And so my grandmother never saw my mother again until she was already 18.
Oh wow,
Right?
wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's a trip. so, so what kind of neighborhood did you live in down there when you were born? Do you recall like the type of setting that was?
Oh, for
Or I
sure.
mean,
I mean,
obviously, when you were growing up, obviously, most people's memories are somewhere around 4 or 5 years old. So,
yeah, when I was in Los Angeles, I went to like a private Christian school.
uh huh,
And I remember like my first boyfriend was this black French guy. His name was Déjeuner.
déjeuner, nice.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh. So there was like a mix of Asian and black in my school, in my like I guess elementary school. And then when I moved to Moreno Valley, because what happened was shit got gentrified, and my parents they suddenly couldn't afford rent anymore,
In that
and my
neighborhood,
mother
yeah.
had me when she was 18. My dad was 20. And so I remember like this voyage of like model homes where like we got to look at all these like homes, but I didn't really fathom at that age that we were like going to move. So I remember pretending like that we lived in these homes. It was like fantasy land because everything's set up, model homes. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was fun. But when we moved to Marina Valley, it was predominantly white. And so I actually had a hard time like feeling where do I fit in, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I'm half Asian, half Spanish, like in my
Mhm.
mind. And
Yeah.
so when I got to middle school, I remember I have like over 30 journals, like of me growing up, writing down my thoughts. And I remember writing down like, is it Asian Spanish pride? Asian pride, Spanish pride? Because like this is what the language kids would say. I'm like, I don't
Right.
know. And my body shape wasn't quite like my friends, and so I found safe haven with like the people in band. So like I was in band,
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
and
Cool.
so I found music in the fourth, fifth grade. I started on flute, and then by the time I went to middle school, I switched over to trumpet because flute was like too girly. I wanted something that was powerful, and
Nice.
I noticed
Nice.
like the trumpet was very like calling and regal and led like the
Yeah.
symphony. So I
Uh-huh.
switched over to trumpet, and
Oh,
then I
that's
was just
cool.
like a band nerd.
So you found other ways to connect. It was like,
Oh, for sure.
that's what we do. I'm sure. I'm sure I
Yeah.
did similar things. Although I'm super white and I went to a pretty fairly super white school too.
Yeah.
Um, I always seemed to search out anybody that wasn't white. You know, because
Yeah.
it was just I don't know. I don't know. Interesting. More.
Yeah.
I like diversity, and I always have had a better understanding of some folks that are less privileged than more privileged folks. I just have always,
Yeah.
and in some cases, especially in where I was, South Jersey and stuff, there was like it's like all white people pretty much. There was very few. I had one friend, James, and Billy Joe. I had the two African American boys in my neighborhood they were my best friends. But so I can identify. I mean, I can see in some ways how I moved around a lot. It was always easy for me to find my way, being who I was and just looking the way I was. And even I got pulled over 2 days ago. My car's not even registered. It smelled like a lot of weed in there, and I apparently my car's not registered. I didn't know that. I thought,
Yeah.
but I got pulled over for speeding, and I was doing like 80 something. So now, I don't know. When I drove away, I just felt like I had spent the last few days with my buddy G, and G's very Indian, and we talk about race and things a lot, and the different ways that we are perceived when we do things together, or individually, you know. So we've had a lot of different conversations, but I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if G was driving, if they would have let him go and did all this, and I mean, I've been in those situations, and there's definitely privileges that white folk have that we take for granted, you know. And as we're kids, weaving into society, that's kind of where this stuff starts, in some ways, right? And like finding a place where you are accepted and is everyone's desire, I believe, deep down inside. And so
Mm-hmm.
I always I wasn't good at this, I wasn't good at that. I found things that I was either good at or other people liked the same, and I would gravitate towards that stuff. But it's interesting to put it into a perspective of, like you say, you moved to an all white school pretty much from a school that was Asian and black, and now you're trying to identify as a youngster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so band. So were you into music before that, or was that just you're like I these people are cool, so I'm going to start learning music?
Well, someone visited my fifth grade class, and I thought it was interesting, but I didn't really like think like I want to do this until I saw that the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. I don't know
Okay,
if you've seen it, but
I don't know if I have.
it really like moved me, and I even imagined like I'm either going to be a music teacher or I'm going to be just like a musician in a symphony that plays music scores, like the scores for film.
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
be one of those musicians.
right on.
But as I got older and got to the college level, it got so competitive, and the brass is it's so male dominated. I don't know how it
Hmm.
is now, but it was then. It was so stressful for me, and I'm very sensitive and emotional. So I always just felt like someone's going to take my chair, someone's going to challenge me, because you can have a position in a band, but you don't always have it. Someone can challenge
Right.
you and be like, hey, I want your chair. And then you have to go up in front of the group, and the teacher might pick a piece, and then you guys got to play it. And if they outplay you, well, you just lost your chair. And then
Oh wow.
depending on your chair is how much you get paid. I was
Oh
just
wow,
like,
that's a serious, that's a very competitive situation.
yes.
I had no idea.
And so I thought, I can't do this shit. Like I
Oh
could,
man.
but like my mental health, because honestly, like I had a lot of abuse growing up. And one of the reasons I had to move to Houston was because um, I tried to commit suicide for the last time, and my family left me in this behavioral medical center. And I knew someone who was moving to Texas, and I said, "Can I please come with you? Because I have nothing, I have no one. I hate my life." And so I moved to Texas because of that. And that's part of the reason why I had to step away from music, because I was such on a survival level
Uh-huh.
that I couldn't even focus on like what brings me joy.
Understood. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. Thanks
yeah,
for sharing that. And wow. I'm so sorry.
yeah. So
Um
it's like I can't worry about someone gonna take my chair. Like I want to kill myself, you know. So
Understood.
um,
Yeah. You were in a different frame of mind to be able to
yeah,
deal with this, like, the competitive nature of this creative thing. Music's like this whole it's always interesting when you bring like competition into creative spaces. Like I do it too often because it's just like a human kind of I think humans can people like the competitive thing just in general, it seems, you know. Not everybody likes to be in that position, but it seems like our society, at least our American culture that I'm familiar with, there is such a competitive nature to things. You know, I do see a huge difference when I leave America in that, in big ways. You know, it's this
yeah.
competitive thing. But bringing it into like creative spaces, like music, for example, it's like competitive music. It's like, huh, how does that even
Well, like
work?
I
You
was
know?
in marching band, which is very competitive,
Yeah.
and I loved it. That's basically what saved me in high school. Just like that whole aspect of high school brought me so much joy. I'm like getting emotional about it in this moment. I'm just like I'm so thankful for that time, because I had such a hard
Yeah.
time um, dealing with other things.
Hmm.
I was sexually molested for a very long time growing up. So when I got to high school, it shapes your brain in a way where you're looking for validation from like the wrong people, because that's what you knew.
I'm
And
listening.
so like I had a lot of boys take advantage of me and then lie about things that had happened. So then like my reputation starts being like ruined, and like I haven't done anything wrong, at least I don't think, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
so music kind of just deadened that part of my brain, and all I could focus is like creating this beautiful quality product with these people. As long as we like are coming in at the right timing, coming in with the right like volume, and then performing it on the field, it's
Oh,
so great.
that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Oh
Yeah.
my god. To be able to do that is amazing. Thank you. Like
Yeah.
that's wow, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
No, it is a tough thing. I mean, I've wa- I've, I've been watching late night Vice, you know. Not always the best stuff to put in my head all the time before I'm trying to go to sleep. Just all the things, you know, and there's this whole like not to go on and on about it, but I just want to touch for a second because I've always had a I've always been very sensitive to this too, going in school and the sexual like bullshit that happens with young boys and girls, where there is this like taken advantage of thing. I mean, when I was 12 and in my neighborhood, people started touching each other and stuff around that age.
So young, I know, right?
And like I remember when boys or whatever would come back and be like, "Oh, I did this and shit," and you're like, "What? Fuck, what are you talking about?" So it starts right there with acceptance, like from your peers
Yeah.
of, and like that's what you start to see at 12. or a little younger, a little after, kids start to go into groups more, you know, because of that stuff. It's like I was a kid that'd be like, "Well, that's not right. That's you're," and I wasn't being nice about it. I would be like, "You're a fucking asshole," or whatever. You know, I was aggressive with my approach, being from New
So
Jersey
you're
and
calling them out,
Philadelphia, and
holding them accountable.
calling people out on their sexual bullshit with women my whole
That's
life
great.
from a young age. Because I
Yeah.
my mother was abused sexually, and other women in my family were, and I became privy to that information at a fairly young age, and got to for myself determine
Yeah, you had a lens now.
what I've been hyper vigilant my whole life because of my upbringing and abuse that I've been through. Um, but the sexual abuse for me, I was very little bit of that or any at all in my life for me. But it really has it really shapes. It can really shape things and change,
Oh, for sure.
and our school system just kind of doesn't even provide. It didn't provide a place for this. Our society just like even so for so long has just been putting this away. And I was just watching a program. It's just like it's a whole bunch of shows. I don't know about this shit going on in schools, young girls and even young boys, whoever, but mostly young women being molested and other things from older men, younger men, whatever, and just how we just turn an eye to it. It's really saddening to see how often and frequently this stuff kind of happens or has happened,
Yeah.
and it is a nice world in a way that we're living now, that the conversations are being had in a more normal setting and situation. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
such a intense piece of life with me and
Yeah.
us
It's
out
like
here in the
I have
ethers.
this tattoo here. It was the first one I got in Humboldt. It's basically
Nice.
an anatomical heart on my sleeve because
Right?
I can't help but share part parts of what's happened to me because I'm so emotional. I guess in the past I felt if people knew what's happened to me, then they would understand why I'm so emotional, you know. Then they'll know why I'm this raw, you know, because I'm still processing the pain and the trauma. Like I'm 40 years old and I'm still healing because
Yes.
healing isn't linear, you know.
It's
So
not.
back to the clay, like it really has helped me, and I'm just so
Yeah.
glad that the things that I make others resonate and it heals them too. It's like a ripple effect.
It is. It's the vibrations, like the sound.
Yeah.
I feel that when I've messed with clay a few times and I haven't learned about it. Some people that I knew that were throwing things were like, "Here, do this and try that," and it's you can feel all the whole thing's like one big vibration. It's spinning
Yeah.
your hand. It's just this like woo 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 woo. It's all biofeedback, if you will, right?
Yeah, some people even will say something like the clay has memory as if it's you know, alive, but
It's alive,
it's kind of true when you're working with it on a cellular level. If you're trying to like make it one way a few times and then force it a different way, it's going to want to go that the ways that you were trying to make it the first few times. So that's the memory they're talking about.
right?
Um,
I wonder if clay gets stoned like high through that same experience, like,
right.
because it's just vibrations, right? Things that change us up. And what kind of herb you puffing on there today, Kate? I saw you had a
Oh,
little ripper.
it's apple fritters.
Apple fritters, yummy. Those are good.
Yeah, I got it from it's indoor by Heart of Humboldt.
The heart of
Their
Humboldt, awesome.
yeah, their price point's so nice.
Yeah. Um, when the owner, I think I heard they sold or they're about to sell or something. But Danny, who was the original owner and founder, I believe, of that, was the first. I opened up a grow shop in Humboldt. I did 23 years ago, called North Coast Horticulture Supply, and Danny, the owner or previous owner of the Heart of Humboldt here, he was like the friend. He was a good friend of the guy who put my sign up at the store. So he was literally like the first customer
Oh, crazy.
Or first person to support my dream. You know, customers just whatever. He was the first person to support my dream. That's what it was. It wasn't a customer. And so yeah, shout out to Danny out there. But he's been growing. He used to grow so uniquely in these like octagon rooms. He built these 8-sided rooms and would put this spinning light in the middle of it and get beautiful yields. And he did this for a long time. How's it going? And he did
Cool.
this for a long time, and then he opened up the dispensary, and they grow their own weed there, and that's partly why they can give it to you at a great
Yeah.
rate,
Yeah.
grown in house.
Mhm.
Nice. Apple fritter is a good one. I was out on the farm today, chasing things around and doing some stuff, but I found some herb called space rocks,
Oh.
and it's like I didn't look up the genetics to see what it is, but it is really it's delicious. Here, let me see if I can find a little bud of it. They're
Yeah, I've heard of Space Queen, but not Space Rocks.
Yeah, this one's like, it's got this purple look to it. Um, it's
Oh.
hard to see on there, but
Oh, I see
it's
it on one side. Yeah.
it's purple and red,
Mhm.
but it has this smell. It has a little bit of a gelonade smell and some kind of
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Afghan smell to it, or
Yeah.
some kind of
Yeah.
dankness to it too. And therapy modalities and are what we've been talking about a lot of our conversation, and like cannabis has been a big therapy to
Oh, for
me,
sure.
right? And I'm wondering
You
how like cannabis weaves
Oh,
into your
yeah.
clay here. How did
So
cannabis like weave into the clay, or like you remember the first time getting high, and then how did that
well,
lead into
I
clay?
was brought up with Dare, and so
Oh
I
yeah.
actually discovered weed when I lived in Texas. Um, I was having a I really hit rock bottom, because I got kicked out and I moved to this place and I knew no one. My parents didn't even let me take any clothes because they were like, we bought that with our money, so it's ours. So I basically just walked away.
Yeah.
And I was having like, I had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and bipolar. And so I must have
Hmm.
had been in an episode. And
Uh-huh.
the friend that I had made was like, just smoke this, because I used to be a chain smoker of cigarettes. So I used to use cigarettes as like, I thought it would help me, but it was just the breathing in deep of like inhaling that I think helps,
Yeah.
and then
And
like the
sitting
nicotine,
still. You like sit
right?
still
And
and
so,
like
and plus I worked at Starbucks, and so it was like coffee and cigarettes. It just made sense. And
yeah.
so the friend was like, "Why don't you try this?" And I was so distraught, I didn't even question. I was like, "Oh, fine." And I take a hit, and I kid you not, like moments, I was able to separate myself from the overwhelming emotion of wanting to like die or whatever. And I was laughing. And I was like, what is this? Like, how is this able to basically chill me out? And so they were like, it's weed. And I was like, but isn't this against the law? Because,
Right, right.
I
We're in
lived in
Texas.
Houston, Texas,
Yeah.
and this is like 2003. And so I was smoking the kind of weed that you get off the block or the brick, like it
Yeah,
has
yeah.
these seeds in it and stuff. But I didn't. That's all I knew. And so I tried it first in February, and I think that July I was like, I think I want to buy a bag. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh my god, what's wrong with me? Am I becoming like a drug addict? Because in my mind, that's what I thought.
I
And
get it.
so I actually got in trouble at the airport when I was visiting my parents. I went to visit and my sister got me some weed in California, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so much better."
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
what
This
we
tastes
call
good.
hydro in Texas. And so we or like BC buds, because like it had to come from Canada in order for it to look that great.
Right, the
And
beasters.
yeah, so I got in trouble and I ended up losing my job at in Texas because they heard that I got in trouble for marijuana because, like, no tolerance.
Right, how messed up is that shit,
And
you
I
know?
only had 1 gram, just
You got
1 gram.
They heard you got in trouble at work, so they let you go. Like, what kind of a society do we
Yeah,
live in? Like, what
yeah,
the hell?
it was really upsetting. And
Man, I'm
so,
sorry, dude. This is no fun.
yeah. So
That part's
my
no fun.
yeah, my first time was in Houston, and then when I got asked to move home, well, back up. When I got the ticket in the airport, they asked me, "Where's your license?" And I didn't understand what they meant by that because I didn't know you could have it, you know. And I said, what do you mean?" And they go, "The Compassionate Act of 1996. Do you have your license?" And I was like, "Oh, no." So, I ended up not getting a ticket or anything. They dropped it, but because work heard that I got in trouble, they fired me anyways.
That's a trip.
And when I went back to live at home to go to junior college, um, I would buy weed from like people that I knew. Because even then, I didn't know that you could like. I thought that you had to have like a crippling ailment in order to have a
Yeah,
license. You know?
right. Because you read the law,
Yeah,
and it
yes. I was
sounds
like,
like that.
oh, I don't have cancer, but I need it. You know? And so I would buy like $60 Ace off the street. And then when I moved to Humboldt, and someone off the like some I worked at I lived at Mad River RV Park for like 7 years because I couldn't even afford to like get an apartment or live with the dorms. And
Uh-huh.
someone at the park was like, "Oh yeah, like we grow. Do you want how much do you want?" And I was like, "Well, I usually get an eighth." And they're like, oh, "Okay, $40." I was like, oh, "What? What do you mean? Why?" Because it looked nice and everything. So it was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been in Humboldt?
13 years.
13 years.
So I moved here
Nice.
in 2010.
Right
Yeah.
on. Cool. And I know
And
that
so
you live in
I've always
Arcata because in a nice little spot over there. That's a cool little spot you have there in that neighborhood.
oh
I've
yeah,
always
you would
wondered about that one house with the
oh yeah,
looks
it's
like a
actually been in
lighthouse kind of thing.
the lighthouse looking one?
It's like a block over or something, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I thought you were gonna talk about the purple house up the street, the Victorian. It's really
I'm sorry, I
beautiful.
don't have any, brother. I don't. Sorry, go ahead, Kate. I'm listening.
I
Oh,
was
sorry,
saying
I'm on a call. Thanks.
I thought you were gonna point out the purple Victorian that's up the street.
That's a beautiful place too.
Yeah, it's been in a movie called The Love Witch.
Okay,
Yeah.
the
And there's
Love Witch. I have to
certain
check that
shots of
out.
Arcata in that movie as well.
And the Love Witch. All right, maybe that's a cool movie to watch.
Yeah, it's like a cult classic.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not much of a movie buff, but as I get older, well, I'm 46 now. I watch more movies. I watch a few more movies. Sorry, somebody's breaking bottles back over here behind me.
Uh,
Ugh. I didn't have a
but,
cigarette for him. Hopefully that wasn't what he got sad about.
yeah, but as far as my ceramics and weed, the
Yeah.
first thing that I made that you could smoke out of was a ceramic apple. Because I was like, yeah, we smoke apples when we don't have shit, but like, what about a ceramic apple? Wouldn't that
That
be
is
cute?
awesome. That is
So I
cool.
started making smokable apples. And the first item I ever listed on my Etsy shop when I was like, well, I guess I'll open up a shop were ceramic debowlers. So you could like ashtray, but then the middle had like a center piece that you could put your pipe into, and
Oh
then like
yeah, yeah.
and
That's
so
old school there. I remember
yeah,
those. Like my mom, had one of those back in the
yeah.
day. Like this. That's cool. The debowler. Do you still make those
That was like the
debowlers?
first thing that I made that I would sell, and
Yeah.
no, I haven't really made them since. Now I make all kinds of ashtrays, and I thought about you know doing an adaptation
Yeah.
to the debowler, but I haven't.
Wonder what like a oh, that's cool. I'm starting to get all kinds of cool ideas and stuff. I wonder what you could make like some kind of like ceramic dab buddy.
Oh, like a
I'm not
rig?
sure maybe not necessarily a rig, but like there's different things you do with your tools and alcohol and like there's a little like
Oh,
you
like a setup for
soak
your
all
tools.
it could have a little it can have like a little bowl, a tall bowl in the middle so you can put your things in there and you pour the alcohol into it. And then when you pull the things out, then you like dry them off, all these glass pieces. It's quite a circus of things going on. I'm sure you've seen
Well,
this.
dabbing kind of fucked me up, nervous system wise, so I don't dab anymore, really.
Yeah, I can understand that. There's a few different things about it that can change the outcomes, and
Yeah, I
concentrates
didn't
are
know.
also all over the place. You can have things made with, it's all over the board. I can totally understand that.
I might take a
Um,
hit or two, but that's it. I can't like have a session.
yeah, usually like that's kind of like a dab session is like one huge hit pretty much
Well,
sometimes.
I guess I keep going back for more. That's the shit.
That's like edibles. That's always the problem with really,
Same. So like I
really
can't really
tasty
tap
edibles.
in.
They're like, yum, yum, yum. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled the total rookie move last 420 and two 420s ago, and I ate like accidentally ate like 800 milligrams.
Whoa.
And even the next day, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do weed anymore. Like that was, ooh. It was kind of like after you drink too much, but
Yeah. Well, I don't drink. I can't drink.
yeah, no, I don't drink either. I every now and again I will, um, but I don't. I never really enjoyed it that much,
So
except for a short
have
period.
you seen this?
Tell me about that.
It's something that you put on your bong, and
Can you
it's called the tar cutter. Have you
the
heard of
tar
it?
cutter?
Yeah,
No.
it basically saves not only your piece from getting deposits of resin, but your
Yeah.
lungs. So it's like good for your
Wow.
health, and it
I
gets
can
caught
see.
in here.
So you've been smoking out of that bong and it's that clean?
Yeah, it can be clean for weeks like this.
Where did you get that? I've
It's
never
called
seen
the
that.
you. I know. I showed my friend Britton who works for Arcata Fire, and he was like, "What is that?" And I'm like,
That's
"Oh,
ama
it's for your lungs. Like it's for your health, but also your
that's
instrument."
amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
so you
from what
just
I'm
put
s
like charcoal, like little bits in here, and it will collect the tar and resin, and then you clean this chamber out.
wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. The tar cutter.
Yeah.
I'm learning some new things today. Forget those movies. I'm going straight for the tar cutter. No, that really does make sense. I just recently filled up an old tube like that, and I was amazed at how dirty it got so quick because I just smoke dabs most of the time at home. I just have a
Yeah.
little zone. I hit it over there in the corner and
Yeah.
stash it away. It's easier and it doesn't stink the whole house up as bad.
True.
Yeah, burning things is never really
Well, that's why I switched over to dabbing because I thought, hey, this is better for me. It doesn't smell the house. I'm not combusting anything. It's
right.
like vapor. It's nice. So I would do like a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit at night. No problem. But then it was the only way I was intaking cannabis. And I think just doing that concentrate again and again, and then me increasing my intake because I was building my tolerance. One day I was like, let me take a nightcap. As soon as I hit it, my heart was racing. I broke out in a sweat. I got panicked. I was like, what's happening to me?
Yeah, yeah. It does have that side effect.
Yeah,
I
I
would
was
say
scared.
the medicine of dabs, the side effect sometimes is definitely really bad anxiety, and that's not good for people that
Right? Because
already
I
have
already
anxiety. That's
have
why I smoke
anxiety.
weed to not get anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Oh, boom, right there, right there. There we go. I know. I knew there was multiple ways we connected similar people and just our communications in some ways, and
Yeah.
I'm understanding a lot more of that today and getting
Cool.
to know you a lot better, and it's awesome. So thanks so much for doing this and like
Yeah, of course.
connecting here. I'm looking forward to hanging out in the park and stuff also, or seeing you
Same.
in town and just saying hi and talking and
Yeah.
continuing to get to know you more because you seem like a great person and you're
Thank
putting
you.
like this beautiful energy into the work that you do and like it's inspiring. And so that's the thing. Like, what do you feel about that? How do you feel that what you're doing? Do you see that how you're inspiring other people in some ways with what you're doing? Because
Oh
I
yeah, I
do.
mean, I really feel and believe that I don't just make pottery; I make positive change, and
Yes.
that's not just through the work that I do physically, but literally the work that I do physically, like out into the community. I believe you show people who you are through your actions. So yeah, that's the core of me and my work.
That's awesome. I'm so glad Jackie made this connection
Me too.
for us,
Yeah.
and I'm super stoked to have you as one of our community judges because
Me too.
we wanted to pick people from all over the state as we have, and we
Yeah.
were really doing our best. Like um, we went out of our way to mix it up as much as we could, and we do look at the industry of cannabis is definitely like many industries where it is male dominated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we definitely have gone out of our way. We have more women than men judges
Oh,
in our competition.
cool.
And I've read some recent numbers, like certain dispensaries have more women um, purchasers, whatever, customers.
Yeah.
So not only does it make sense in general, but it also, like from the business perspective, if people want to just, if that's all it's about to them, it also makes sense there. I mean, I don't buy anything without talking to my lady. Like, she buys stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
women be spending all the money. No.
Yeah, when I look at my stats for my Instagram account and following,
Yeah,
89% is women.
right.
Dang.
I believe it. And you know what? Sometimes it is like this. Like, I see things and I'm like, "Oh, Sasha, let's get that," or whatever, and she's just like, boom, boom, boom. She's quick on the order of
Yeah,
things, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Especially over the last like 5 years or even 3, like just the ease to buy things has become
It's true.
it's become very easy.
Yep.
What ways do you use as to make it easier for people to get a hold of your products? Do you have
Uh,
all the
well,
different
um,
things, or like how do people buy your stuff? Where do they go?
they go online to my Instagram account because there's a link tree, and then
Yeah.
from there there's a tab that says shop. I used to
Yeah,
have a website, but then it's a big old long story. It's trauma.
the website. Oh, man.
Yeah, well, I was running my own, and then they wanted to charge me more for email, so I was going to move all of my subscribers to a different platform. And I had asked someone if they knew where I could do that, and they ended up persuading me to hire them, and then they never delivered per contract,
Oh, my
and
goodness.
they have half of they have yeah. It's like
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez, yeah.
yeah, and
I've been
so
there before. I
well,
recently
what
got
was sad
exploited
is
by a cartoonist.
I had learned that this has happened to several people in the community by this same person. And
Oh,
so
jeez.
I'm just like, oh, this seems to be a mode of operation that's successful because we all aren't really talking to one another, knowing that this is
Huh.
happening, you know?
What's his name?
Uh,
No, we can talk
her
about it later.
name?
Oh, alright, alright. I got alright, never mind.
Yeah.
I had one
Uh,
too.
well, Jackie knows. But
Well,
yeah,
she'll steer us clear, then we're good.
I don't have a website, partly because of that fiasco, and
Okay.
I have a pattern site which is through Etsy.
Uh-huh.
But I like to, sling on Instagram. Like if somebody sees something, I'm like, hey, don't go to the middleman. Just ask me. Just Venmo me,
Of course.
and I
Right.
will ship to you.
Cool.
Um,
So you can just get a quick Venmo through your Instagram and
yeah.
pick stuff
So
out. So when you make things, do you just post them up fresh?
I usually have a shop update once a month, unless I say something's going on. So I'll have a small batch once a month just to generate income because I need to pay rent.
Yep.
And then recently, I just opened up my books for custom submissions. So
Mhm.
people will submit ideas like pet portraits, and then they can Venmo me. But I'll also be at the Obon Festival that's next month at the Old Creamery District, which is going to be like a Japanese festival.
That sounds
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so I'll have like, I don't really make Asian esque work, but because it's an Obon Festival, let me show you.
Please.
Like
Down
here are
here.
just three different things that I'll have, but I mean designs. So you see how there's little dumplings with
Oh,
chopsticks?
I saw those. Those are cute.
Yeah, but then it says you're my favorite dumpling,
That got
and
my
then
attention
this
when you
one,
posted that one.
and then it says send nudes. It's a bowl of noodles. And then because
Some
it's Year of the
noodles.
Rabbit, it's like a cute little rabbit.
Uh-huh.
So just nice um little vessels that I'll have, but I'll also have like if these peaches are still around, I only have two left. I've got like these peach pipes.
Oh, nice.
I have one Amanita mushroom pipe left in my shop, so
That's really cool.
that might be there. Um,
Right
so
on.
yeah, I
When you make those, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
well, I was just saying
Oh,
that's the only market that I know that I'll be doing this year. So generally, people can get my stuff online, and I just started
okay.
offering payment plans because some of my work, like I have two mugs in shop. They're both 230 each, but they're original, and they're detailed line drawings. Um, and so most of the time people will just pay it up front, but because times are tough, like I bought this on payment plan. This jumpsuit,
Right on.
I
That's
wanted it, and they
fresh.
were like, "Oh, you're gonna offer
Fresh.
payment plans?" Sure. And I thought, well, if I'm benefiting from payment plans, let me offer that shit for my shit too. And
Right.
so I've had the last 5 orders be on payment plan.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. I've seen that
Yeah.
offered in some things recently. It's like, all right, 4
Yeah, because
payment plans. I'm
accessibility
like,
is
huh,
important,
all
but
right.
it's also important for me to make money so I can live.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I could do this in another time too, but I'd like to offer you, for being one of our judges and being such a cool person, I'd love to offer you a table at CannAbyss to display your goods, and we could talk through details if you're interested off the air. But
Oh,
that
okay.
would be, yeah, we could work something out
Yeah,
if
let's
you're
have a
interested.
conversation.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'd like to see you at another event this year. We
Yeah,
got some cool stuff.
I guess I'd have to make some more nug mugs, which are mugs you can smoke out of, but
I've seen those. I think they
yeah.
would do well. Nice. I'm actually right here down at the park. A little. I was like, where am I gonna go? I have to get on this live right now, and I'm way far away from a place I know. So I came out to the Adorney Center because I know their Wi-Fi in there,
Cool.
and I got a nice signal out here. I've recorded out here once or twice before, and it turned out good. And so this is
Great.
the waterfront of Eureka. This is low tide.
Nice.
It's a little muddy there, but all the critters need that. But it's a beautiful, beautiful sunny day out here, as it will be in September for CannAbyss. And yeah, so what's going on for you this weekend? Are you going to go out to Northern Nights or anything? Is that your
Oh
thing?
no, no. Um, well, I volunteer every Saturday morning at the Sanctuary Garden. So I'll be there from 10 to 12. And I'm actually a project leader for part of their beautification. They just got a grant through Humboldt Area Foundation to do beautification within the garden because it's
Right
not just
on.
a garden, it's a gathering space. And
Yeah.
so we just installed a flat platform and I actually have a interview on Monday morning with K-Mud about the Sanctuary Garden.
Oh,
We got
cool.
a platform pavilion that it's called something else, not a pavilion, but it looks like it. And then what I'm going to be doing is installing a medicinal garden and a meditation seating area.
Right on. That sounds
Yeah.
epic.
So I'll be going to the garden Saturday, and then I'm going to start a new yoga class. It's like comedic yoga. Um,
Comedic yoga?
yeah, like based off of African slash Egyptian
Yeah.
roots. And so that's at the Crystalline Collective in Arcata. They just moved from McKinleyville to Arcata.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, let me go. Because I haven't
Huh.
done it in a while and I miss yoga. So I think that might be helping me
I know.
heal.
I
So I'm
need
going
to
to
get into
revisit
yoga
that.
too.
Yeah.
That sounds like right up my alley for yoga. I've never done any yoga like that. I mean, I don't. I'm not familiar with that style.
Well, Bombidale is the instructor, and he is like a local wordsmith slash poet slash like performer.
Uh
And
huh.
his work in that area really touches me, and I'm impressed. And I'm like, well, let me come to your class.
Wow.
Like, have you teach me this new form of yoga?
Wow.
Um,
I want to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
When
So
is
it's
it? Saturday?
Saturdays from 12 to 1. Yeah.
Saturday, 12 to 1.
And the first class I read online is free, essentially. And then if you want to keep going, then it's like $50 for 4 pass.
Sounds good to me.
right? So I'm like, let me check it out. So that'll be Saturday. And
Saturday,
then
all right.
there's a drag cabaret Saturday night through Club Triangle at Del Arte International in Blue Lake.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'm doing that.
Sounds
I'm
good.
going to be going to that. And then Sunday, I'm going to be going to dance practice for Japanese dances.
Right
Because at the
on.
Obon Festival, there's going to be performance. And so
I should
that's
keep it
great.
active, I see.
Yeah.
It's good. I love watching you around doing a bunch of cool stuff around
Yeah.
town. And um, when the sun breaks in Humboldt, it's like a whole nother world. We live in like this amazing place, and until it gets sunny, it's like we're like waiting and waiting and waiting.
I
But the
know.
last few weeks have been great, and now today it's like, man, it was 100 degrees this earlier today in Garberville.
Dang.
It was hotter than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
That.
summer's here. It's like if you're going to be active and get out there and do stuff, now's the time, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Glad to hear you're keeping it active this
Well,
weekend.
community is very important to me, so I hope to meet other like-minded people in these little communities that I, invest my time in.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to hit you back after this for details on that yoga class because I've been trying to get back into a routine of yoga
Yeah.
because it definitely like I feel better always mentally and physically
Me
when I do
too.
yoga. So
And it's been since like 2018. I'm like, oh, it's been a long time.
yeah, I haven't really been in a regular practice for probably that long too, which is
Yeah.
not that's not okay. So as long as you don't think I'm weird, I might show up and see you out
No,
there on the
that's
mat. I'm
cool.
just kidding around. I
Yeah.
am weird. I'm definitely going to be there probably too.
Cool.
But no, I'm looking forward to seeing you out again in the community more. And I do really appreciate the things you shared with us today and being on this life path with you here in our world together, but in our
Well,
local
thank you.
community. Yeah,
Thank you for the opportunity, Stephen. It was a
thank
pleasure
you.
being in the CannAbyss with you.
Yeah, we went way out into the cannabis for sure, and that's
We
the
did.
idea is to like leave, leave the space and connect on some different stuff. And like,
Hmm.
I'm so glad some powerful things came through today, and I hope that people listening and watching are inspired by this stuff because I am.
Oh,
It could be
great. I'm glad.
right on.
Well, I guess I'll see you on Saturday.
I think so. Now I'm being called out, so I'll definitely have to be there. But my partner Sasha is a yogini, and she's very much into yoga. And she's been at me lately, like, "All right, when are you going to start doing the yoga again?" So
Okay.
there it is, Sasha. I'm
Cool.
going Saturday, 12 to 1. Anybody else out there in the community that wants to come share some space and a healing vibe on Saturday, come find us.
Yeah.
12 to 1 yoga, Arcata. Right
Crystalline
on.
Collective.
Crystal and Collective. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
what it's called. And Cate Be, we'll list
Yes.
some more details on this so people can find you after
Okay.
watching this and stuff. And we'll put a couple clips that's up on our Instagram and stuff to promote it and tell people go over here, check it out because
Here's
it was a
Hachi
good
real
one.
quick.
Oh, the cutie.
Hey,
Oh my God.
Hachi. He's like, come out to the front with me, Mama. Come out in the sun.
He's got to tell you something. He's like, come on, come on. So cute.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, awesome, Cate. Thanks so much, and I wish you the best of luck with ceramics and all the rest of the things you're doing, and I can't wait to see you out in the town.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. You have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Peace. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been another episode of Into the Cannabis, and I'm Steve Geeter, your host with the most weed from coast to coast. And I'm down here today at the West Coast at Halverson Park on the Eureka waterfront. And this is the site for this year's festival CannFest under the Samoa Bridge. It's out in this direction in the 3.5 acre park. And I hope to see you there. Thanks again, Cate. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Follow us on this, subscribe to our YouTube channel here so you don't miss our interviews. And check us out on Instagram. We got a whole bunch going on there. Peace.